Cassandra Carlopio, a licensed psychologist in Australia, has been teaching mindfulness meditation and yoga nidra in Southern California for the past 5 years. Cassandra focuses on all things sleep and relaxation related, and thousands of people fall asleep to her guided meditations on YouTube, Spotify, and various meditation apps each night. Cassandra completed her master's degree in clinical psychology in 2012 on the Gold Coast of Australia. Since then, she has committed herself to understanding how the mind and the nervous system work to help people heal from trauma, addiction, anxiety, and insomnia. Cassandra has worked with Major League Soccer and National Hockey League, trains medical professionals in functional sleep medicine, and works with clients from across the United States and internationally via online video conferencing. With an expertise in helping people shift their association with sleep and unwind the nervous system so people can access a deep and restful sleep with ease. Cassandra is a collaborative partner at the Breathe Institute, an internationally recognized leader in functional sleep medicine. She teaches meditation classes across Southern California. She believes that quality of life comes from quality rest, and has dedicated herself to the art and science of relaxation and sleep. The quality of our sleep is directly related to the quality of our waking life. Relax well, sleep well, live well. Please help me welcome Cassandra Carlopio.
Thank you so much for that lovely intro and for creating this event. I'm so thrilled to be here and be part of it and to get to talk about my 2 favorite topics, meditation and sleep. And I'm guessing some of you have similar interests because you're here in the room. Just so I get a sense of who's here, because normally when I'm doing a talk, I know I'm talking for dentists, or I'm talking to CEOs, I'm talking to athletes, and this just looks like such a wonderful, varied group. Who here sometimes has trouble falling asleep at night? Okay, great. And who here sometimes has trouble, you fall asleep okay, but then you wake up in the middle of the night and you have a hard time falling back asleep? Okay, great. Wonderful. Who here would love to improve the quality of their sleep? Okay, yes, we're all in the right place. So, just a little disclaimer. I have a little bit of an issue with some kind of articles that say, oh, just follow these 5 steps and then your sleep issues are going to be resolved. If only it was that easy. Sleep is probably our most natural biological process because of so many different reasons. Sleep and resolving sleep issues is incredibly complex and nuanced, and if you're having trouble and struggling, no, you're not alone. There is good support out there, but the 5 tips are not necessarily going to do it for you. So I'm just going to paint some broad strokes of things to kind of keep in mind. I work with an amazing medical clinic that treats sleep and breathing disorders and does an amazing assessment, which is really, really important, and also does continuing education for people in the medical field, because doctors, psychologists, counselors get very little, if any, education and training in the field of sleep and insomnia, and it's such a big topic. So I'll do some very broad strokes, things to look out for. I have some resources here on these cards. So I might just hand them around and then you can pass them back. I have some recommended reading in here too, but just a disclaimer, who here has read Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep? Oh yeah, one hand in the back. It's a fabulous book. However, If you are struggling to fall asleep, or someone you know is struggling to fall asleep, do not give them the book. One of the reasons people have a hard time falling asleep is you're lying in bed, your eyes are closed, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I have all this going on tomorrow, I have to fall asleep, I have to be up at this time, I didn't get enough sleep last night. And then if you read the book, you suddenly have a whole arsenal of all these awful things that happen when you're sleep deprived. So I highly recommend the book if you need motivation to get yourself into bed a little earlier, but not if you're struggling with insomnia. Make sense? Okay, good. Using meditation for sleep is phenomenal for a number of types of people. This is really ringing. Is it bothering? It's ringing. I don't know how to do it differently. Okay. If anyone sees someone, just send them up here. But often people will say to me, am I getting enough rest? And, the general guidelines are 7 to 9 hours for adults per night, which most people don't get. However, the quality of your sleep is also really important. So a quick way to test if you're getting deep quality sleep is to ask yourself the question, and I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands for this unless you really want to. After waking, could you fall back asleep at 10 or 11 a.m.? And when I do this with a group of medical professionals, I'll take them through like a 5-minute guided meditation, and there'll be at least 3 in every room after 2 minutes who are like out, snoring, mouth open. A lot of people can fall asleep very quickly during the day. The second question is, can you function optimally without caffeine before noon? Just some food for thought. Okay. So I want to make this as relevant to you guys as possible, so please raise your hands, questions. We could spend a whole week together talking about sleep, so I'm going to kind of go pretty broad, but come up afterwards as well if you have more nuanced and detailed questions. But I want to make this as relevant to you, so interrupt me, raise your hand, ask questions. I'm going to talk for a little bit more, and then I'll take you through an experiential guided meditation to help show you things that you can do starting tonight that will help prepare your body to go into a deep and restful sleep. But before we get there, if anyone has any type of sleep or sleep disordered breathing issues, meaning a lot of snoring, sleep apnea, any type of sleep apnea, or upper airway resistance syndrome, which is basically a technical term for the airway when you start to go into deeper stages of sleep starts to narrow. These really need to be addressed by a medical professional, and you need to get a good diagnosis and a good treatment plan. If you can't breathe and structurally your airway is too narrow, or functionally your tongue, when you go into a deeper state of sleep, is coming back and blocking your own airway, it doesn't matter how many mantras you do, it doesn't matter how much meditation you do, airway, breathing, fundamental to your ability to breathe and live. So I can't recommend enough getting a proper assessment. Also, sleep meditation is not going to work for you if you have some underlying medical condition that's masquerading as insomnia, like hypothyroidism or hormones out of balance. So again, get a proper diagnosis if you're having trouble sleeping. And I can't recommend the Breathe Institute enough. I'm so thrilled to get to work with them, and I have their information on the card. Moving right along, who is a good candidate to use meditation to improve your sleep? Anyone with stress, anyone who experiences anxiety sometimes, anyone who, when you close your eyes at night, you start to think rapid thoughts. Who here experiences that sometimes? Great. This is a really good thing to be learning. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, I just want to touch quickly on the nervous system, which is probably my favorite thing to talk about. Who here knows a little bit about your autonomic nervous system, your fight or flight or freeze, and your rest and digest? Hands up. Okay, great. We'll just speed through this. What's the main function of your nervous system? The fight or flight and rest and digest. Anyone? Survival. It is completely orientated to keeping us alive. So a tiger comes into the room. We have a very predictable set of physiological responses. What are they? Fight or flight. Chances are we're not going to be able to fight very well. Yeah, so your heart rate gets elevated, your breathing changes, you get tunnel vision onto the potential or real threat. Your blood pressure goes up, your body is responding as if there's a very real threat, and not until that threat leaves the room will your body go back into a rest and digest, a parasympathetic state, which is where we're meant to optimally spend most of our time. Now, the problem is that most of us don't spend most of our time in a rest and digest or a parasympathetic state. Most of us are stressed. Most of us are caffeinated. Most of us are overthinking. Most of us are overworked. Most of us are driving many hours a day in LA traffic, which is putting you into somewhat of a fight, flight, or freeze response. Everyone with me so far? So, coming back to our tiger analogy, if a tiger is in the room, it's physiologically impossible for you to go into a rest and digest state, right? Because you want to be on edge, and primary function is survival. Thank you. Okay. Great.
It's better if you step back a little, it goes away. It's like when you become equal to it, it starts doing it.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Very observant, thank you. So can you still, I'll just project my voice, is that what's going on? Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Technical difficulties, good. I love that you have, there's a cozy blanket down here, and I just want to like curl up with you, it's so adorable. So, fight or flight, it's physiologically impossible to go into a rest and digest state when there's a perceived threat or a real threat. Key word, perceived. Okay, now imagine you're sleeping and your body assumes or perceives that there's a tiger circling the camp. If the primary function is survival, your body, bless its heart, is going to resist going into a parasympathetic state, right? And it's going to resist going to sleep. Because why? When you're in the deeper stage of sleep, you're very difficult to rouse, you're unresponsive to your environment. We are at our most vulnerable when we're asleep, particularly when we're in that deep stage 3, stage 4 sleep. Yes?
No volume.
You can't hear me?
No, that's not my mic. He's gone.
Okay, I am going to take my singing training. If I speak at this level, can you hear me at the back? A little, okay. Let's all take a deep breath, mostly for me. Have a stretch. We got this. Thank you. Okay. So your body's actually doing you a favor. If you're stressed, if you're in a sympathetic state, your body's going to resist going to sleep. If anyone has ever had any type of trauma around nighttime, it being dark, bedtime, your body is going to resist going into sleep. If someone has had a long-term breathing issue, meaning every time you go into deep sleep, your airway starts to close over and you can't breathe, your body is going to resist taking you into a deep sleep because it's trying to keep you safe. Does that make sense to everyone? So if you don't have any airway issues, the best thing you can do for your sleep, along with all the sleep hygiene that's really important, that's a whole other conversation, is to practice taking your body from a fight, flight, or freeze, or sympathetic state, and transitioning yourself into a rest and digest, a parasympathetic state. From there, your body then can start the process, take you down into the nice sleep through the sleep stages, and should you wake up in the middle of the night, again, you have the ability to take yourself back from the fight or flight into the rest and digest, therefore greatly improving your chances of having a deep restorative sleep. There's a few things worth noting that actually will be very counterproductive. I've mentioned it before. Caffeine. I'm from Australia. I love coffee probably more than anyone else in here. But if you struggle to fall asleep, if you struggle with anxiety, if you struggle with trauma, caffeine, reducing your caffeine, and if you absolutely have to have caffeine, having it early in the morning, because caffeine has a 6-hour half-life. So if you're drinking a cup of coffee at 2, you still have half that amount of caffeine in your system at 8 p.m. So I have a 9 a.m. cutoff for me for my one latte every day. But if you struggle to fall asleep, stay asleep, and if you wake up not feeling rested, and if you could easily fall asleep again by 10 a.m., cutting out caffeine is a really low-hanging fruit move. It's not a very popular one, but it's... I'll just leave that there. Yeah, let's do that. Great. Okay. Whoa. That'll put you all into fight or flight. So then we can practice bringing you back down again. Perfect. Thank you. Can you hear me in the back okay? Thank you. Okay. So caffeine, perceived threat. So our nervous system does not know the difference between a real tiger and a perceived tiger. Our body doesn't know the difference between a real threat to our survival and the worst case scenario thinking that our minds are so good at doing. So meditation and learning to work with your attention, learning to work with your mind is a great way to help mitigate those bedtime thoughts, those worst case scenario thoughts that further put you into a fight or flight state, making it further difficult to fall asleep. So practice. Who here has a regular meditation practice? Okay, great. Who here has tried using meditation for sleep? Who here has had any success using meditation for sleep? Oh, great. Good. Good. So a little nod to one of my teachers, his name's Dr. Richard Miller, and he developed the iRest training. It's a yoga nidra training. Has anyone heard of that? Yeah, great. It's a phenomenal training. I'm very informed by the training that I did with him. I also put their information on the card in case you're interested. They're an amazing organization. Who here has heard of yoga nidra? Okay, great. So I'm very informed by yoga nidra. I'm also informed by my psychology training, informed by a lot of somatic trauma modalities, somatic experiencing, EMDR. But basically, I'm going to take you now through a practice of shifting from fight or flight into rest and digest. And it's almost like shifting gears in a car. If you don't shift regularly, the transition isn't very smooth. I don't know if that was accurate because I know nothing about cars, but you get the point. It's actually, relaxation is a skill that you can develop. Who here has ever thought about relaxation as a skill set before? Yeah, great. So that's what I'm going to take you through. The one little trick with relaxation is don't try to relax. In fact, you'll probably, I don't want to say never, but probably never hear me actually use the word relax in my meditations, because if anyone has anxiety or trauma and you tell them to relax, generally what happens? You get the opposite result. I don't know if you've ever tried to tell someone to calm down when they were getting agitated. Generally doesn't really work. So with relaxation, trying to relax is generally counterproductive. However, using different techniques, focused attention, and being with your experience as it is the direct path to a relaxed state. And I'll give you an experience of this in a moment. The other little mindset shift that's really helpful for people is if you're lying in bed at night and you're having this thought looping, I have to get to sleep. I have to get to sleep. I have to get to sleep because, and then you have all of these reasons, and if you've read Matthew Walker's book, you know you're going to die early if you don't get to sleep. It's really extreme. If you shift from I have to get to sleep to I'm just simply resting, it sounds simple, but it takes all of the pressure off your mind and your system to get to sleep. I just have to rest. I know these techniques that help me go into a relaxed state, and a relaxed state is almost as good as sleep. So that little shift can also be really helpful when you're lying in bed at night and the thoughts are going. Okay, so let's do a little practice. We won't go too long, so I invite you to all get as comfortable as possible. If we had more space and pillows, I would say lie down. And if you fall asleep, there is zero sleep shame in this room. I take it as the greatest compliment if someone falls asleep while I'm speaking, more so when I'm leading a meditation than when in a social situation. But the only reason your body will fall asleep is because it needs sleep. So let your body sleep if you need to sleep. And if anyone's snoring really loudly, someone next to you will gently tap you, but it generally doesn't happen too quickly. You're so welcome. Okay, so let yourselves get comfortable. I'm just going to put a little background music on. Sometimes it's nice to have a little kind of soundscape holding you. I practice with and without music. But when we're in a room like this, it's nice to be held by the music. So if you feel comfortable, just let your eyes just gently close. You can also keep them open, that's an option. And take a moment to make sure you're as physically comfortable as you can in your current position, knowing that it's not ideal, these chairs, but we will make do. Ideally, your feet have contact with the ground and your back feels supported. And then begin to feel the points of contact that your body is making with the chair and with the ground. And just let your experience, so let any thoughts, any sounds, any ideas, just let them exist, but focus your attention on where you're meeting the ground. And so every time your attention wanders away, as it inevitably will do, just keep kindly but firmly bringing your attention back to where your body is meeting the ground in this moment. And then when you're ready, let your attention make its way to your breath. And rather than going into some analysis about your breath or trying to change your breath in any way, just notice the organic way your body is breathing in this moment. Feeling your body's natural rhythm of inhale and natural rhythm of exhale. And just keep kindly bringing your attention back to your breath each time it wanders away. And if you're having a hard time focusing in on your breath, know this is completely normal. And you can try using a simple mantra like I am here now. So that as you feel your breath come in, you silently say to yourself, I am. And as your breath goes out, you can silently say, here now. Letting everything else just be exactly as it is as you focus in on the feeling of your body breathing and using the mantra, if needed, I am here now. And then as you're ready, bring your attention up to your forehead. Again, just letting everything else in your experience be exactly as it is, and focus in on your forehead. And just notice, is there any unnecessary tension lingering around your forehead? And if it feels right to you, just let your forehead begin to smooth itself out. And then get a sense of your temples, the space between your eyes and your hairline. And begin to let your temples soften. And just notice what happens to your whole forehead area as your temples begin to soften. And then bring your attention to your eyes. And just start by noticing how your eyes feel in this moment. Do they feel still? Are they kind of moving around a lot? Do you feel kind of a pressured forward sensation? Or do your eyes feel like they're resting back? Just notice, for you in this moment, how do your eyes feel? And what happens if you allow your eyes to rest in your eye sockets? Not trying to achieve a particular outcome, but rather just allowing your eyes to rest into their natural state. And each time your attention wanders, as it inevitably will do, kindly but firmly bring your attention back to your eyes, allowing them to rest. And then when you're ready, make your way to your jaw with your attention. And just first notice, are you holding any unnecessary tension around your jaw, as so many of us do? And can you allow the back hinge of your jaw to soften like 2%? And then get a sense of your whole face, all the different sensations, the muscles, the feeling of the air on your skin. Just get a sense of your whole face. And allow, if it feels right to you, allow your face to soften just a little more. And then when you're ready, bring your attention down to your shoulders. Really feeling the temperature and any sensations across your shoulders. And perhaps noticing that as your body naturally exhales, there's this softening that's already taking place across your shoulders. And if that's not here for you, that's totally fine. Just sense what you can feel across your shoulders. And then I'm going to invite you to bring your attention to your left arm now. And get a sense of your left upper arm, your left forearm, your left wrist. And then really focus in on the palm of your left hand. And anytime your attention wanders away, kindly but firmly bring it back to the palm of your left hand and really discover there's a whole world of sensation here in the palm of your left hand. Can you sense a temperature here? Can you sense a tingling or a pulsing or something else entirely? Just focusing your attention to the palm of your left hand and welcoming whatever sensations are here. And then as you feel ready, bring your attention to your right arm. Get a sense of your right upper arm, your right forearm and wrist. And then really bring your attention into the palm of your right hand. Noticing what sensations are here in the palm of your right hand. Does the palm of your right hand feel similarly to your left, or does it feel different? What's the temperature here? Can you sense a tingling here? Just noticing what's present in the palm of your right hand. And let everything else just be as it is as you keep tuning in to the palm of your right hand. And then as you feel ready, begin to take your attention back and forth between the palm of your right hand and the palm of your left hand. So focusing in on one palm and then the other, and just going back and forth in your own timing. And then see what happens if you focus in on both palms of your hands at the same time. Both palms of your hands at the same time. And then as you're ready, let your attention make its way down your torso. We're going to briefly sense down your legs. So just notice any sensations in your thighs, knees, your shins, calves, your ankles, your feet, toes. And then let's just settle in for a moment on the soles of your feet. Letting everything else in your experience just be as it is as you focus and refocus on the soles of your feet and whatever sensation is here. And then from the soles of your feet, let your attention begin to spread out until you're sensing your whole body and all the different sensations that may be present for you. Sense the whole front surface of your body, the whole back surface of your body, the whole left and right sides of your body, till you're sensing your whole body and welcoming all the different sensations that are here, whether that's a temperature or a warmth or a tingling or a pulsing. And then as you're ready, let your attention re-find your breath. And begin to notice, how does your breath feel now? Where are you feeling it in your body? What's the rhythm, the organic rhythm of your breath now? And does your breath feel any different now than it did at the beginning of the meditation? Just notice. Notice if your body feels any different now than it did at the beginning of the meditation. Notice if your mind, your attention, your thoughts feel any different now than they did at the beginning of the meditation. And then when you feel ready, before we make our way back into the room, I want to invite you to take a moment to pause and just acknowledge yourself for being here today, for taking the time out of your busy lives to connect inward, to practice meditation, mindfulness, to really take care of yourself in such a deep way. And for being here in this room with me and practicing rest and relaxation. Then you can gently start to deepen your inhale breath, preparing to ease yourself back into the room. You can wriggle your toes and your fingers, very gradually blinking your eyes open because there's a lot more light in the room than your eyes are accustomed to. And returning to your awake, alert, but hopefully relaxed state. It can feel really nice to have a stretch. Wonderful. So, does anyone feel any different now than they did at the beginning of that? Great. Did anyone notice their breath felt different from the beginning to the end of the meditation? Great. Did anyone feel in their body that they felt different from the beginning to the end? Great. Did anyone fall asleep? Yes! I take that as the highest compliment. So we have a few minutes. I want to just talk about one of the techniques that I think is really helpful that I used a lot in that practice, and then I would love to open it up to questions. The technique is so simple. It's focusing attention and body sensing. It's like such a simple tool that you can use anytime. I had you put your attention on the palm of your left hand. People were able to feel sensation there. Put your attention on the palm of your right hand. Welcome sensation there. Put attention on your forehead. We went really through the whole body. You can't be thinking and feeling fully at the same time. So a lot of people try to struggle with thoughts, particularly at bedtime, but the thoughts are going to win 9 times out of 10. And if anyone can argue with their thoughts and make them go away with their mind, come talk to me afterwards, because I want to learn how to do that. If you focus on what's happening in your body, it's like your attention is a flashlight. And if you're focusing on your body, you're not focusing on thoughts. If you're focusing on the palm of your left hand, you're not focusing on the fact that you have to get up in 4 hours. Does that make sense? It's a way of, it's very respectful. Like you're letting your thoughts, you're letting your experience be as it is, and choosing, I'm going to put my attention on something that's happening in my body in real time. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but for me, most of the time what happens, if I let my thoughts be there, it's kind of like a snow globe. If you shake a snow globe and all the snow is getting stirred up, if you want the snow globe to settle, what do? You put it down and you don't mess with it. And inevitably, at some point, all the snow is going to settle. There'll be a few rogue snowflakes. That's the nature of the mind and attention. But if you can just let the snow globe be there, let your thoughts, let your worries be there, and put your attention on something else. Like if you make a cup of tea, and then you check back in with the snow globe will have settled some. So if you let your thoughts, let your worries be there, and you put your attention on what's happening in your physical body in this moment, chances are your thoughts of their own accord are going to start to settle. So I cannot recommend body sensing highly enough. Great. Questions, comments? Yeah.
My problems with sleep are atypical because I'm kind of a B personality, kind of laid back and chill. I don't have a lot going on, but sometimes I just lay there awake and then have neuritis in my feet, so nerve pain in my feet, and so that keeps me awake sometimes. But what if you have like a physical pain?
Really, really good question. So this practice is so good for pain that the military has actually used Richard Miller and iRest as their #1 non-pharmacological treatment for chronic pain, because learning to be with sensation, whether it's extremely painful, whether it's really enjoyable, and then direct attention. And there's so many specific kind of interventions that you can do with where you're putting your attention, the pain, where you don't feel pain, where you don't feel pain and pain together at the same time. There's so many different ways of working with sensation, but it definitely adds another layer of challenge when if you do a body scan and you don't have any physical pain, generally it's just super relaxing and very easy to slip into a deep state. But if you're doing a body scan and you have pain, it definitely adds another layer of challenge, and the need to learn to work with it and focus attention is so helpful, and it's totally, totally doable. Yeah. So there's meditation specific for pain, I think, on the iRest website, and I'm about to put some out myself for pain as well. So there's resources for you. Yeah. Yeah.
You talked about falling asleep and then waking up. Sometimes I do that and I'm just wide awake, like not thinking about anything. I'm dressed and there might be 2 in the morning.
Yeah, that's when it's really good to have a guided meditation teed up, so you don't have to think about it, you don't have to really look at the light, you can just press play, put the headphones in, and again, take the pressure off, I need to fall asleep, to I'm going to do this practice, I'm going to go into a relaxed state, and that's almost as good as falling asleep. And then you're setting yourself up to be able to fall asleep with the best chances. Yeah, really good question. Anyone else? Yeah.
Do you have any recorded guided meditation? Because your voice is very soothing and lovely.
Thank you. I'm so boring in Australia, but in the US, like whatever, I'll take it. Yeah, and on that little card, I have a link to my, I have a ton on YouTube, on Spotify, and I'm about to launch an app in probably in the next month, that'll have meditations for anxiety, pain, and sleep. And I'm on Insight Timer and Aura. There's a lot of ways to listen. Thank you. Yes, in the back. I have one up here. So if you didn't get a card and you want one, come and take a photo of it, and then we can share information. And if anyone has any further questions, come up and see me afterwards. You have my email. Email me. I work with people one-on-one. I do groups. I do all sorts of different things. But sleep and meditation is my 2 big passions in life. So come talk to me, and you're all wonderful, and thank you so much for being here, and yeah, stay rested.